The tragic events surrounding Chad Doerman, an Ohio man who killed his 3 young sons, have left a profound impact on the community and the nation. This video delves into the details of the case, exploring the circumstances leading up to the murders, the legal proceedings, and the aftermath. But first, subscribe to our channel for more content, and don't forget to share it with your friends and family. The early life of the Doerman family appeared to be relatively normal and filled with typical family activities. Chad Doerman, his wife Laura, and their 3 sons Clayton, Hunter, and Chase resided in Monroe Township, Ohio. The boys were known for their love of outdoor activities such as fishing, go-karting, and swimming. They were often seen at local baseball fields and enjoyed running around outside, embodying the carefree spirit of childhood. The family seemed to share a close bond, with the boys being described as inseparable and always having fun together. Chad Doerman's social media presence further painted a picture of a loving father. He frequently posted photos of his sons engaged in various activities, such as fishing and attending monster truck events. These images depicted a family that enjoyed spending time together and participating in wholesome activities. However, these public displays of affection and normalcy masked underlying issues that would later culminate in a tragic event. Despite the outward appearance of a happy family, there were signs of trouble. Chad Doerman had a history of domestic violence, including an incident in 2010 where he was charged with choking his father during a dispute. This history of violence, combined with his eventual mental breakdown, suggests that the family may have been dealing with significant internal strife. Laura Doerman later expressed her fear and discomfort with Chad's behavior leading up to the tragic incident, indicating that there were underlying issues that were not immediately apparent to outsiders. On June 15, 2023, a horrific incident unfolded in Monroe Township, Ohio, when Chad Doerman executed his 3 young sons in a brutal act of violence. According to court documents, Doerman had been behaving erratically in the moments leading up to the tragedy. He was seen muttering to himself, "Chad knows what's right," while carrying a Bible, which alarmed his wife, Laura Doerman. Despite her expressing fear and discomfort, Doerman dismissed her concerns as a joke. On that day, Doerman returned home early from work and requested his family join him in the primary bedroom for a nap. He retrieved a Marlin Model 70HC-22 rifle from his gun safe and began his deadly rampage. The first victim was Hunter, aged 4, who was shot twice while lying in bed. Laura, in a desperate attempt to save her children, instructed her other 2 sons, Clayton and Chase, to run. Clayton, aged 7, managed to escape through the back door, but was pursued by Doerman, who shot him from behind and then again at close range. After killing Clayton, Doerman carried his body back to the yard. Meanwhile, the stepdaughter, who had witnessed the initial shooting, tried to flee with Chase, aged 3. However, Doerman, after reloading his rifle, demanded that she put Chase down. In the ensuing chaos, Laura was shot in the thumb while trying to protect Chase, who was ultimately shot in the head by Doerman. The immediate aftermath was equally harrowing. Doerman was found by deputies sitting on the steps of his home with the rifle beside him. All 3 boys succumbed to their injuries at the scene, and Laura sustained injuries while attempting to intervene. The community was left in shock and mourning, grappling with the senseless loss of 3 young lives. The tragic events of June 15, 2023, began to unfold with a series of harrowing 911 calls. The first call came from Chad Doerman's 15-year-old stepdaughter, who had managed to escape the violence and sought help from neighbors. In a state of panic, she informed them that her stepfather was killing everybody in her house, The neighbors quickly called emergency responders, describing the chaotic and terrifying scene to dispatchers. The children's mother also made a frantic call to 911, screaming that her babies had been shot. When deputies from the Claremont County Sheriff's Office arrived at the scene on Laurel Lindale Road, they found Doerman sitting calmly on the steps outside his home with a rifle beside him. The deputies immediately took him into custody without incident, capturing the arrest on body camera footage. During the arrest, Doerman appeared disturbingly composed, even making casual comments to the deputies. He informed them that he was sober and not trying to resist arrest, and he gave bizarre warnings about the family dog, instructing it to go back inside the house. The deputies found the bodies of the 3 boys in the yard, and despite all life-saving measures, they were pronounced dead at the scene. Their mother, who had also been shot in the hand during the struggle, was found outside the residence and taken to the hospital for treatment. The community and law enforcement were left reeling from the sheer brutality of the crime, with prosecutors later revealing that Doerman had confessed to planning the murders for several months. Chad Doerman's police interview and subsequent confession were pivotal moments in the investigation of the tragic murders of his 3 young sons. Following his arrest on June 15, 2023, Doerman was taken to the Claremont County Sheriff's Office for questioning. During the interrogation, he reportedly confessed to the premeditated killings, detailing how he had planned the murders for several months. Doerman's statements were chilling, as he referenced biblical justifications for his actions, stating, "The Bible says you kill your firstborn, you kill your secondborn, you kill your thirdborn. But first, you're supposed to kill your wife. I didn't kill my wife." These admissions provided a stark insight into his disturbed state of mind and the calculated nature of his crimes. However, the handling of Doerman's interrogation came under intense scrutiny. His defense attorneys filed a motion to suppress the confession, arguing that Doerman's constitutional rights had been violated. They claimed that deputies ignored his request for a lawyer and continued to interrogate him for 3 hours without properly advising him of his Miranda rights, which include the right to remain silent and the right to legal counsel. During a court hearing, Detective Michael Ross, who led the investigation, testified that Doerman had been playing games and trying to control the interview, but the defense maintained that the interrogation should have ceased immediately upon Doerman's request for an attorney. In a significant ruling, Claremont County Common Pleas Judge Richard Ferentz agreed with the defense, determining that Doerman's rights had been violated. The judge ruled that the confession could not be used as evidence in court, stating that investigators had failed to properly inform Doerman of his rights and did not stop the interrogation when he unequivocally invoked his right to counsel. This decision was a major blow to the prosecution, as the confession was one of the most compelling pieces of evidence against Doerman. Despite this setback, the prosecution continued to build its case based on other substantial evidence, ensuring that Doerman would still face justice for his heinous crimes. The investigation into the murders of Clayton Hunter and Chase Doerman was meticulous and thorough, uncovering a chilling narrative of premeditated violence. Law enforcement officers arrived at the Doerman residence to find Chad Doerman calmly sitting on the porch with a murder weapon, a Marlin Model 70 HC-22 rifle, beside him. Body camera footage captured the immediate aftermath, showing the officers' attempts to apprehend Doerman and assess the scene. Inside the house and the surrounding yard, investigators found the bodies of the 3 young boys, each shot execution style. The crime scene was meticulously documented, and the evidence collected provided a comprehensive picture of the events that transpired on that tragic day. Key pieces of evidence against Doerman included the rifle used in the killings, which was found next to him when officers arrived. Ballistic analysis confirmed that the bullets recovered from the victims matched the rifle. Additionally, Forensic evidence from the crime scene, such as blood spatter patterns and shell casings, corroborated the sequence of events described by witnesses. The investigators also found disturbing writings and notes in Doerman's possession, indicating that he had been planning the murders for several months. These documents revealed his troubled mental state and his fixation on carrying out the killings, further solidifying the premeditated nature of the crime. Witness testimonies were crucial in building the case against Doerman. His wife, Laura, and stepdaughter provided harrowing accounts of the events leading up to the murders. Laura described how Doerman had been acting erratically, muttering to himself while carrying a Bible, and how she had expressed fear and discomfort with his behavior. The stepdaughter's testimony was particularly poignant, as she had witnessed the initial shooting and attempted to flee with her younger brother. These first-hand accounts, combined with the physical evidence and Doerman's own statements during his police interview, formed a compelling case for the prosecution. Despite the suppression of his confession due to Miranda rights violations, the overwhelming body of evidence ensured that Doerman would face justice for his heinous actions. Familicide, the act of killing one's own family members, is a rare but deeply disturbing phenomenon. Research indicates that the most common perpetrators of such crimes are men who feel a loss of control over their family. In many cases, these individuals may exhibit abusive and controlling behavior, and the act of familicide is often a final, desperate attempt to exert control. While the exact motive behind Chad Doerman's actions remains unclear, court documents revealed that he had been contemplating the murders for several months. Doerman reportedly experienced significant distress and sleepless nights leading up to the incident. His behavior on the day of the murders, including muttering phrases like, "Chad knows what's right," while carrying a Bible, suggests a possible delusional state. The trial of Chad Doerman for the murders of his 3 young sons was a highly publicized and emotionally charged event. Initially, Doerman pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, a defense strategy aimed at highlighting his severe mental health issues. His defense team argued that he was not in a sound state of mind during the killings and had been contemplating the act for months due to his deteriorating mental condition. They also sought to suppress his confession, claiming that his Miranda rights were violated when deputies continued to interrogate him despite his request for a lawyer. This motion was successful, and Judge Richard Ferencz ruled that the confession could not be used as evidence in court. The prosecution, led by Claremont County Prosecutor Mark Tikolov, faced the challenge of building a robust case without the confession. They focused on the overwhelming physical evidence and witness testimonies to establish Doerman's guilt. The prosecution presented ballistic evidence linking the rifle found at the scene to the bullets that killed the children. They also highlighted the premeditated nature of the crime, supported by Doerman's own writings and notes that detailed his plans. Witness testimonies from Doerman's wife, Laura, and his stepdaughter provided harrowing accounts of the events, further solidifying the case against him. During the trial, the emotional impact of the testimonies was palpable. Laura Doerman recounted the terrifying moments leading up to the murders and her desperate attempts to save her children. The stepdaughter's testimony was equally heart-wrenching, as she described witnessing the initial shooting and trying to escape with her younger brother. These first-hand accounts were crucial in painting a vivid picture of the horror that unfolded on that fateful day. The prosecution also emphasized the calculated and methodical manner in which Doerman executed his plan, countering the defense's argument of insanity. Ultimately, Chad Doerman accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to 3 counts of aggravated murder and 2 counts of felonious assault. In exchange, the prosecution dropped the death penalty charges, resulting in Doerman receiving 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. Additionally, he was sentenced to 16 years for the assault charges. The verdict provided a measure of closure for the grieving family, with Laura Doerman expressing her agreement with the outcome, stating that no punishment could ever bring her boys back, but knowing that Doerman would spend the rest of his life in prison was the best outcome for her family. The murders of Clayton Hunter and Chase Doerman have left an indelible mark on their family and the community. Laura Doerman, in a statement read by a victim advocate, expressed her profound grief and the irreparable loss of her sons. She emphasized the importance of remembering her sons for who they were before the tragic events, three little boys who loved fishing, go-karting, and swimming. The community of Monroe Township, Ohio, was deeply affected by the tragedy. A crisis team was stationed at Monroe Elementary School to provide support to those in need. The incident also led to the creation of GoFundMe accounts to assist the stepdaughter and her mother in coping with the aftermath. The case of Chad Doerman is a harrowing reminder of the potential for unimaginable violence within the confines of a family. The murders of Clayton Hunter and Chase Doerman have left a lasting impact on their family and the community. While the legal proceedings have concluded with Doerman receiving 3 life sentences without parole, the emotional and psychological scars will endure for those who survived. This tragedy underscores the importance of understanding and addressing the underlying factors that can lead to such devastating acts of violence. It also highlights the need for continued support and resources for survivors and communities affected by familicide.